Okay, great. So let's wait 1 minute more and we can start. Uh, Hello again. I hope you see and hear me well. I'm super excited to give this talk today because today is my birthday, but I muted notifications on my phone because I have something even more significant to celebrate too, the Medium Day. I started my blog on Medium 6 years ago when I was making my first steps in programming. And I wrote my early posts in Ukrainian, and my first reader was my friend Roman from Lviv. I met him at the university, and I will tell you about him a bit later. But first, let me briefly introduce myself. My name is Liuba, and I am a 34-year-old self-taught programmer. For the last year, I've been living in Kyiv, Ukraine. And today I will discuss my front-end engineer career and working routine during the war. 5 months ago, I posted a story about my life after the Russian invasion, and it was boosted on Medium. That was my chance to share my experience with a broader audience than usual. But today I'll try not to repeat myself, though, because lots of things had happened since then, and I met a lot of new and old friends and listened to their stories carefully. And now I feel ready to share some of their thoughts with you. I grew up in a small town in the Burштyn, in the western part of Ukraine. I was 11 when I saw the first computer in my life, and honestly, I wasn't impressed. My school had computer science lessons, but they were desperately dull. Most of the time, we wrote down lectures our teacher dictated to us from a book where computers were called electronic computing machines. How exciting could an electronic computing machine be for a little 11-year-old girl? I thought it couldn't. But my cousin Stepan had a different opinion. We were classmates, and he was the best student in our math class and also fond of technology. I remember walking to school together, and he shared the newest information he had read in a science magazine. Imagine, Luba, someday floppy disks will become so small that you'll be able to wear them as your earrings, Stepan said dreamily. But I laughed. Floppy disks didn't interest me. I loved poetry, music, and romantic movies. Sitting in a class, solving tasks on ancient programming languages like BASIC or Pascal was torture. Hopefully, Stepan was always near to give me a hand. Mm, There was another reason I was not too fond of computers at school: the video games. All computers in my class were usually occupied by boys who used every free moment to play Doom, Quake, Half-Life, and Counter-Strike. But I hated shooters. Scenes of violence made me feel terrible, uncomfortable, and unsafe. Meanwhile, my classmate Dmitro was obsessed with video games. He was good at math, but often skipped our classes and spent his time in computer clubs instead. I remember our math teacher getting angry and annoyed with him, predicting his awful future. But she wasn't right. Dmytro moved to Kharkiv, a big city in the eastern part of Ukraine, and became a successful iOS developer. When the invasion started, he took his wife and a little son and returned to our hometown. I met him a few weeks ago while visiting my father in Burштyn. After finishing school, my cousin Stepan passed all the needed exams and entered Polytechnic University in Lviv. Not surprisingly at all, he works as a programmer now. So my family wanted me to follow his example, but I decided to learn culture studies at Lviv National University. And I enjoyed my time there. I used to go to theaters, museums, film and music festivals. However, after graduating from the university in 2012, I couldn't find a job in Lviv and I moved to Kharkiv. Ironically, my first job there was at the video games shop. At the same time, I was looking for opportunities to work as a cultural manager and journalist. The last project I was involved in was an exhibition dedicated to the history of World War One. I read a lot of research on that period, newspapers from that time, witnesses' letters, and memories. And what fascinated me was that Ukrainians were experiencing many similar challenges again in 2014 when the Russo-Ukrainian War started. Ruined cities and villages, abandoned homes, refugees, and the incredible amount of victims among soldiers and civilians, all that devastated me totally, and I burned out. For personal reason, I quit my job and started thinking of trying something new. The post on my Medium blog showed that in 2017, I started learning HTML and CSS. Soon I found my first job as a markup developer, and after a while, the next one. Initially, I was deeply engaged in new technologies and the responsibilities, but it soon became a part of my working routine. And what is even worse, I didn't feel eager to grow and improve my skills. The situation changed in 2020 when the COVID pandemic started in Ukraine. I mostly stayed at home, bored and frustrated, watching dummy detective TV shows. But then I started learning Vue to distract myself somehow from total degradation. I joined Women Who Code Kyiv mentoring program and built my first pet projects on Vue. Soon, one of them was noticed at my previous company, and I was offered to join a project as a trainee front-end developer. But I didn't have a chance to enjoy my new position for too long. On the 24th of February in 2022, the Russian invasion started. Early in the morning, my friend Liuba and I packed the most necessary things, grabbed my cat, got in a car, and left Kharkiv. We went to my hometown Burштyn, about 1,000 kilometers to the west. And the trip took us 3 days. Because of ubiquitous traffic jams, endless lines to gas stations, and lack of fuel. The first night we stayed at a luxury hotel because we were short of cash, and luckily there was one room we could pay for with the card. On the second night, we stayed at a sanatorium in the woods. It was designed for Soviet officials and had a basement, which was used as a bomb shelter. At first, Burштyn seemed like a safe place. Months after, it was targeted by Russian missiles because of the power plant. I lived in my parents' place and could keep working and donate to the Ukrainian army forces. But the news I read and watched daily was frustrating. I tried to distract myself by learning and posting to my blog, and that helped for a while. Although there was one thing that made me feel uncomfortable in my hometown, it was too small. For example, when I went out for a run, my route through the whole town was about 2 kilometers. So I felt trapped and unhappy. And when my sister in Warsaw asked me to visit her, I agreed. And now I understand that was a wrong decision. I wasn't ready to see all these citizens walking around peacefully, eating dinners at fancy cafes, and enjoying their lives while people in my country were suffering from Russian invasion and doing their best to survive. I felt angry, jealous, and guilty. I met new Ukrainian friends in Warsaw. We went to protest together, but I was completely lost. And after some time, I decided to return to Ukraine. I chose Kyiv as my new place to live, and the first months in the capital were unforgettable. After the occupation of the Kyiv region, it seemed like life had returned to its usual course. Um, yeah, while in Poland, I found a new job, so I was working a lot, but also visiting new spots, meeting new people, walking and jogging. Everything changed, though, when the Russians started their terrorist campaign of shelling critical infrastructure. Sure, they often targeted civilian buildings as well. That is what their terror looks like. Uh, in my latest Medium post, I described my experience in detail. And after surviving several total blackouts in the city, I discovered a lot about myself. I can be enduring, persistent, and decisive, but also, do I want to be like that all the time? I didn't realize how exhausted I was until my recent visit to the European Union. Last month, I was invited to Würzburg, Germany for a team event at the company I work for. My trip there took me 36 hours by bus. I was stuck at the border crossing for 12 hours. I spent this time wandering around, smoking cigarettes after cigarette, and regretting my decision to leave my lovely apartment in Kyiv. However, as it turned out, my business trip was an excellent opportunity for me to rest and relax. I met my teammates and we spent a lot of time together. Our hackathon was incredibly inspiring. I revised my attitude to work, and interest and enthusiasm reappeared. In our free time, we walked, talked, and had fun. Finally, I could go outside after the curfew, which lasted from midnight to 5 in the morning in Kyiv. After a week in Germany, I decided to stay here for a couple more days and went to Berlin. And that was the right decision. I enjoyed the city. Like a year ago in Warsaw, I observed people living without stress and fear. They were not disturbed by air raid sirens, and no drones were flying in the sky. And this time, though, I felt happy about them. Not a trace remained of anger, resentment, or envy. Something had changed, but I wasn't sure what exactly. My daily routine in Kyiv differs from what most people imagine during wartime. When there's no shelling, transport, cafes, shops, work as usual. People get used to danger. They behave as normally as possible. Even during constant night shelling in my sleepless nights in the corridor, I went to work in the morning. Of course, my productivity was worse. Of course, I didn't keep up with the deadlines, but in general, life went on. The only thing you can get used to is losing control over your own life. The sounds of air raid sirens cancel a visit to the doctor, cinema tickets, or a park walk with your family or friends. You can't plan anything. This uncertainty depresses and exhausts you the most. So I decided to move to Warsaw again because it can help me to establish a daily routine and give me a sense of certainty and safety. But it won't solve the main issue. When the Russo-Ukrainian war started, while the Russo-Ukrainian war continues, we suffer from a daily stream of terrible news. All my friends confess every missile hit in a residential area, whether Lviv, Kyiv, or Kharkiv, is a painful experience for them. Now there's not a single Ukrainian who is not being directly affected by the Russian aggression. Someone has lost their home, relatives, or loved ones in the war. We all share a common sense of grief and loss. Moving to another country won't help me deal with it. And worst of all, I can't imagine what can. Um, while in Berlin, I met my friend Roman, who has been reading my blog from the earliest posts, and I haven't seen him in person for 15 years. He became a software engineer and moved to Germany 8 years ago. Roman told me how the war changed his attitude to life. He started asking himself existential questions. What I am working for? What is the meaning of my life? Am I happy? Roman decided to quit his job without having a plan B. The only thing he cares about now is how to make his life meaningful again. Roman's experience might sound irrelevant in Ukraine, but not to me. I guess the only thing I've learned during the war is not to postpone your life for the future, but to appreciate every moment. The Ukrainian army forces are fighting for my life and freedom. Thanks to their work and sacrifice, today's talk is possible, and I have no words to describe my gratefulness. However, my well-being is my own responsibility. I've got the privilege of moving to another country, and I know the challenges it will cause. Maybe someday I'll write another post on Medium about my experience of being away from home. But my true wish is that every refugee from Ukraine, Syria, Iran, Afghanistan, and other places where people suffered from active war actions and fought with totalitarian regimes could return to their countries and rebuild their homes. Thank you for your attention. Stay with Ukraine, and if you have any questions, please ask. You can ask if you're shy or have some technical issues, you can ask me directly in the messages. If no, so thank you again for your attention and have a nice day.
Hello. Hello. I don't know what's going on. Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, hi. I don't know what's happening here. Um, I guess, all right. So you can't, my camera isn't working. I posted a question on the Q&A. What's the best way for us as private citizens in other countries to be of assistance to the people in Ukraine?
Uh, the first thing is just to realize that we are challenging and that what if we are facing every day. And once you realize it, you can share this information. And of course, um, you can donate for the Ukrainian Army Forces or other organizations. But yeah, and mm, I wasn't into politics too much before the war started. But I know that people, like our revolution showed that people have power and they can influence on their governments so that they give us more weapons so that we can deoccupy our territories. Yeah, that's it, if briefly.
Okay. And I guess while I've got you here, um, what about your professional life now, contact with other developers outside of your country? Does that keep going? Are you able to go to user group meetings and um,
Yeah, sure,
yep,
sure. Yeah, like I do not miss any meetings I have at my company, at my team, in my team. I work as usual. We all work as usual, and sometimes it's quite funny because, as if we are pretending, it's everything is normal. Yeah, as if nothing's significant is happening.
I
Okay, for example, yesterday there were shelling in my district, in my neighborhood, and I was sitting, and hopefully it was before my working hours, and I had my English lesson. So I just talked to my teacher, said to my teacher, "Okay, I just give me a second. I will go to the corridor."
how
Uh,
can you possibly go on with business as usual when there's shelling near you? I can't imagine. I just
yeah, I also couldn't imagine, but as I said in my speech and in my talk, you quickly get used to it.
okay,
Yeah, and you just ignore the danger because it helps you to stay mentally healthy. Yeah,
fair enough.
otherwise you just find a possibility to move abroad or to quieter places. Uh, but the truth is that there is no safe place in Ukraine right now because they're shelling. They can like, for example, yesterday there was shelling in the Ivano-Frankivsk region where I'm originally from. It's like almost 1,800 kilometers away from Kyiv.
I was there in 1983. It's a beautiful city, or at least
Yeah.
I hope that many parts of it are still intact.
Okay, maybe there are some other questions. I just do not see where I can see the questions. Thank you for your questions, Barry. Hope you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Maybe someone else. We have 4 minutes more to the session end. Yeah, I guess there was one more question. I clicked and added it. Yeah, but nothing happening again. That's weird. I'm new to hopping platform, so
I'm new, so I don't know how to unvideo myself here.
Okay, I'm desperately looking for some hints, but yes. Oh, okay, Brad appeared. Hello, Brad.
Hi, Liuba. I think the problem is I asked the question many minutes ago, but there's supposed to be a review, and there is no review. So that's why you're not seeing the question. My question was, when do you think the war will end, and how will it end?
Okay, it's like if you asked me this question a year ago, I would say it will finish till the end of this year. But it seemed that the war is going to continue for some time, unfortunately. And I talked to my friend recently who was reading a book of Timothy Snyder, and he described the Second World War. That it was obvious in 1941 that Hitler lost the war, but he continued fighting, and the same for Putin and all this Russian army. They already lost because they couldn't achieve their goals in short terms. But unfortunately, they keep on terrorizing us. They keep on fighting, and the only thing I would say we are not able to finish this war without help from other countries. Yeah, we need it, and as quickly as possible, as much as possible.
You're a very brave woman. Lots of, I agree with Barry. It's incredible that you can work, as a developer myself. I can't imagine dealing with the danger and the stress and all the issues. So I just I applaud you for your bravery and for your professionalism. It is pretty incredible.
Thank you a lot for those words.
And I know that some of my people who help me do what I do, have moved to Poland and other places, and we continue to have them help us as just so that we can keep their lives as regular as possible under what are just incredible circumstances. So you have a lot of support. Let's just put it that way. Certainly
Yeah,
here.
thank you. If we want keep in touch, I just deleted my Twitter account recently, but I am on Blue Sky, and the same as Medium nickname Nichia. Yeah, so or you can find my contacts in Hopin profile. Okay, we have one more question. The session is over officially, but if we will have one more person with a question, maybe it takes some time. Okay, Jen. Hello.
Hi, I tried to put a message in and it said in review. So, but I wasn't planning on being long. I did ask a question, and by the way, thank you so much for this talk. It's been interesting and engaging, and I am so sorry you're going through all this. But the question was, how hard has it been to?
Okay, Jen, you must. Can you repeat, please, because we cannot hear you well.
Jen's frozen.
Yeah, Jen's frozen. Maybe there is a place we can see her question.
I'm going to turn off my video, maybe save bandwidth. Maybe they're limited. So
How do
that
we do? Okay.
there's a camera button at the bottom.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe that would,
Yeah,
no, it's not
we
helpful.
are allowed to be 10 on this meeting, so I guess that is not the reason. Okay, how hard has it? Okay, I can see the question of Jan, and I will try to quickly.
I think I'm back.
Yeah, I can see your question. Yeah, how it's hard to communicate, to adapt to other culture.
I can't hear you. Wait, okay, I think I can hear me. Say something, please.
Yeah, I'm trying to answer your question quickly. We are quite like Polish people and Ukrainian people. We have a long history of communication, of culture communication as well. And when I was a student, we had a trip to Wrocław for 1 week. Yeah, and there are a lot of Ukrainians in Poland, even before the war started. Right. Yeah, so I wouldn't say it's too difficult to adapt to other culture. I can understand Polish. Unfortunately, I cannot talk in Polish, at least for now. Yeah, but Polish people were the first who helped us a lot, especially during the first days of the war. So yeah, and they keep on helping us, and I'm very grateful. And my mom actually also moved with me to Warsaw and stayed there. And she'd been working for a refugee camp, like transition, not a camp, but transition area where all refugees come. Yeah,
like at prison, the border crossing.
Yeah, after the border crossing. Yeah, and yeah, she saw how many and how hard Polish volunteers work.
Yeah, I've seen the outpouring of support from Poland. It's been phenomenal. I think it's great. And you know, I just want to share a little bit personal, but I know you've got to end the session soon. Is that during the pandemic and before the war, I've been doing genealogical studies, and I am part Pole and potentially part Ukrainian, but I don't know. It's really hard to find records because of all the border changes and all the wars. So trying to track down my family heritage has been a little challenging, and I've been learning Ukrainian and started learning Polish more recently. My grandparents spoke it at home, but they didn't really want to teach me, and I was upset about that.
And where do you live now? Where are you from?
I live in Sacramento, California, and there's a pretty large Ukrainian population here. There are a number of refugees who have come here. But through the pandemic, I really have been more careful than a lot of other people. So I have been very slow to reintegrate to normal life on that level here. So yeah, it's been an interesting past 3 years, and I'm not sure interesting quite covers the right word. Yeah. And I'm trying to imagine what it must be like to enter a war when it was still overlapping with the pandemic too. Like, that's just crazy.
Yeah, but ironically, the pandemic somehow helped Ukrainian government and officials to arrange the life here, because now we can do a lot of stuff from the distance, like online teaching, online lessons at university, at schools. Yeah.
Right. Oh, that's the irony of it. Something terrible was helpful in another situation that's terrible. It's just like, okay. So yeah, I just want to thank you so much for sharing your personal story. And I'm not sure how I best could give support to someone in your situation. I've been trying to help Zabuko. I don't know if I'm saying their name properly, but they're supposed to be an artist collective in Kyiv. So,
yeah, Americans do help us a lot. And there is a nice documentary movie on Netflix with our President Zelensky.
Yeah.
And I watched it 2 or 3 times and cried every time.
Yeah. I haven't actually watched the series yet, and it's in Russian originally. I was like, I want a Ukrainian version so I can learn Ukrainian. So yeah, it's not really optimal in that regard, but I'll still watch it anyway because it's supposed to be pretty good, and on a lot of topics that affect us all, the freedom to speak our mind and try to make changes, so
yeah.
So thank you. I think I'll let it go with that, but
Thank you, Jan. Good luck.
thank you.
Bye everyone. Thank you again for watching.